Hey everyone. I apologize first off if this does go off. It's been known to do that. But I thought I'd kind of give you guys a little bit of an update of what's going to be happening with Dcwa, my CAW league. Now, as we all know, tomorrow WWE 2K16 gets released. And yes, I will be getting the PS4 version. Hopefully, it'll be exactly as they've been advertised. It'll be a vast improvement over what we got last year. I mean, last year pretty much I think a lot of people will agree was more like a beta version, if not a prototype, to see exactly what it would look like. So hopefully it'll be, like I said, hopefully it'll be exactly what they advertised, and we won't have to worry about anything. Now, like a lot of people on Facebook and here on YouTube, a lot of people have been coming out and addressing the future of the CAW leagues, and I'm here to do the exact same thing. I did this previously, but didn't go into much detail. Now, with a lot of the features being advertised, with the exception of Story Designer, which is kind of a letdown, but it's alright because I think some of us can work our way around that, if you know what I'm saying. With the exception of Story Designer, a lot of what we've been wanting, if not more so, is being brought back and being brought in to the game. Now, here's the thing that I think a lot of people need to realize about 2K16. Yes, it is on all the consoles, except for the Nintendo Wii U. But on all the Xbox and PlayStation consoles, it's all on the 360s, the PS3, and the current ones. So no matter what happens, we're all going to have basically the same features and whatnot, except for, I think, Story Designer, unless the previous gen consoles have Story Designer, but I'm not totally sure. Now, with that said, a lot of us CAW people that have our CAW promotions, leagues if you will, are looking forward to 2K16, and yes, like I said, probably having to work around certain elements, if you will, having to work around certain elements. We are still looking forward to it because of the fact that now we can take our CAW leagues like we intended last year to another level. Now, there's no doubt that some CAW leagues did that already and worked around certain things. Like if they had a Divas roster or women's wrestling or women's CAW roster, they probably had to use the previous gen consoles to go with that, while they used the next gen versions for the male roster, for the men roster, if you know what I'm saying. So, again, as I pointed out, as I was saying, this, to me, this is an opportunity for a lot of us finally to do this. Now, here's the thing though. Unless you got your copy early, like some people did get their copy early, I'm pretty sure because of Amazon or GameStop or whoever. If you got your copy early, then you're already working on putting your CAW leagues together, reconstructing your CAW leagues and getting ready to resurrect them or reboot them, reboot them onto the next gen consoles. Now with that said though, there's a lot of us like myself that it's going to take time for us to do that because we've got to get used to certain new features and stuff so we know what we're doing. But like I said, it's going to take time for us to get used to that, as well as it's going to take time for us to recreate our characters, download certain other characters that we have, and there you go. So with that said, until the time is right for me to move Dcwa officially into 2K16, 2K14, which is the outlet for Dcwa, and several other CAW leagues out there, will still be used. So even when I do get the game tomorrow, hopefully, it will not be an automatic transfer. It'll take time, but as we get towards it, I will let you know when the time and place is for DCWA's 2K16 PS4 debut. I will let you know when and where that's going to happen. Now, with that said, you're probably wondering, like anybody else that's a fan of CW leagues like mine, you're probably wondering what that means entirely for the roster. Well, God willing, I will be able to recreate some of my original OC characters as well as some of my original CAW characters. Of course, some of them also being based off characters like Sally Acorn and Bunny Rabbit from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. I'll try to recreate them best I can. Now, with that said, that, like I mentioned earlier, is going to take time, which is the reason why 2K14 will still be the outlet for my CAW league. Now, with that said and all, while it takes time and everything, I will give you guys an example of what to expect. Just like I did with 2K15, I will give you guys an example through PS4, and then and the ability to upload to YouTube and Facebook. I will give you guys an example of what you'll be getting, hopefully, in the next year. My plan, my goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to have DCWA and a roster that's very similar to what I have now, ready, up and ready, a decent roster, if you will, up and ready for next year's DCWA WrestleMania 2016. That is the goal. That is the goal that I want to achieve. That by the time I get ready to present and showcase DCWA WrestleMania 2016, the CPV, the big showcase, the big CPV showcase of my colleague, of my CAW league, just like it is for any other CAW league. Hopefully by then, 2K16 will be its new home. Now, I'm not saying that's a fact just yet, but until that time, DCWA will be, like I said, still shown and still outputted courtesy of 2K14. Now, like I said, there are some characters that hopefully I'll be able to bring back, download and stuff as time goes on, as well as arenas and all that. So, again, it's going to take time, but I'm letting you guys know that 2016 is the target year for DCWA to go 2K, to go PS, to go basically to the next level. 2016 will be the year DCWA goes 2K16, aka PS4, if you will, finally. But it all depends on what happens. Now, we all know, speaking of DCWA and any other CAW league out there, we all know the news that was announced a few weeks ago. That basically, at the end of this month, which is essentially this Friday, this Saturday, the community creations, the online ability, the community creations, the online ability for 2K14 will be gone. 2K14 will no longer support online capability. Well, that's not necessarily true. They'll still be able to probably support match playing, like rank playing and all that. But as far as community creations, uploading and downloading, that'll cease. That'll no longer be an option. So basically, if you still want to add something else to it, well, you slowly start to plan and then eventually start to build or rebuild your CAW league onto the PS4 or the Xbox One, or even if you still have the 360 and PS3, those versions, while you're still prepared to do that, you have the next, I'd say the next 5 days to get to get whatever you want still up and running. Now, with that said, again, like I said, until the time is right, until I make the announcement, DCWA will still be outputted, I should say, by 2K14. Now, speaking of DCWA in its current form, as you guys have just witnessed, the Survivor Series CPV has been uploaded. Check that out on my YouTube channel. Check that out if you will. It is a great event, and again, I apologize for the voiceover during the first match. Usually with my CPVs, I let the action speak louder than any words can describe it. So I apologize for that technical difficulty, that little snafu, if you will, at the beginning. And that is, and speaking of which, to answer one question again, I'm sure a lot of people have about my CAW league, is why do I keep the Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler commentary? Well, as much as I could basically come out and do my own commentary for my CAW league, I find it easier and more and less stress relieving, or less stressful. I find it more easy and less stressful to just let them do the commentary during my Raw and Thunder shows than it would be for me to do it. But speaking of commentary, like I said, when it comes to the CPVs though, that's a different story because I let the action speak louder than any words could describe it. So again, I apologize for the voiceover in the first match. But if you watch that first match, you basically get an idea why some people are starting to get behind my CAW league. And speaking of CAW leagues, and speaking of CPVs I should say, the next one is coming up. This one is going to be really interesting. This one is going to be, well, let's just say the name hasn't been announced yet, but I will let you guys know what it is real soon. But it's going to be a really interesting one that you guys got to keep an eye on. There's going to be championships on the line, no doubt. But again, I don't know the name just yet. It's still in the works. But the next CPV will be hopefully before or around Thanksgiving. So it probably will be a CPV with a Thanksgiving name to it. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. With that said, just I thought I'd let you guys know what's going on as far as my CAW league goes, and it concerns 2K16 in its current form. And like I said, as far as it concerns its eventual debut on 2K16 and its current form of 2K14, I thought I'd let you guys know what's going on. Also let you guys know that the post Survivor Series edition of DCWA Raw will be uploaded, or has been uploaded, but onto my YouTube channel, but has yet to be linked to any of the CAW Facebook groups, but eventually will be. But it is up and running if you want to check that out, and it will be linked up to several of the main CAW wrestling groups on Facebook. So be on the lookout for that if you're on Facebook. Also, like I said, the next CPV is going to be probably around Thanksgiving, maybe have a Thanksgiving theme to it, as well as the post-Survivor Series edition of Thunder will be, I will be getting that up and running soon, and it will feature maybe about, I think, one or two championship matches. Be on the lookout for that as well. But again, I thought I'd give you guys an update of what's going on with my CAW league. And again, as far as its eventual debut on 2K16 and its current form and run on 2K14, and what's to come and what to look forward to. So again, thought I'd let you guys in on what's happening, give you guys up to date, and that's all I'm going to say. Comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll talk to you all later.